Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. This is the inaugural program for my new network, which is going to deal with the subject of studying the metaphysical ancient discipline of numerology. Hi. Hi. I am two things. I am Frank and I am optimistic for you. And I'm here to open up your eyes and your heart and your mind to a really fascinating and amazing language, the language of numbers, the way numbers touch our lives and influence who we are and what kind of experiences we encounter in life and what kind of things we're going to encounter in life based on who we are. Just this first episode is just a basic primer to talk a little bit about what the nature of the basic numbers are and how they affect you in your life and how they appear not only in your name but in your birthday. The whole premise of numerology is that it's based on the belief that we have many lives, that we reincarnate, that the soul is eternal. And numbers are vibrations of differentiation between different levels of existence and elements that compose existence. So by understanding numbers and their vibrational effects on us, we can understand how they dictate, influence, interconnect with other souls and other beings that we encounter through our own natural vibrations, as indicated through the names we are born with at birth and through the numbers we encounter on our birth path, which is locked into the days that we are born, the months we are born in, and the year we are born in. So, this first episode, like I said, is just a basic primer. There's so many different layers of things when you're setting up your own chart to kind of figure out who you are, what your strengths are experientially and numerologically, and what your destiny and different timeline numbers that are hidden in the code of your birthday start revealing about yourself. So, to just start jumping in somewhere, we'll start at the beginning with the numbers themselves, okay? In numerology, a couple of things are basic too, that each number has its own unique value of vibration and experiential context. That is, each number represents a different aspect of human experience and human conduct and human behavior, okay? And there are 9 basic numbers in numerology, just 1 through 9. And then the cycles start over and start repeating themselves. So, for example, in numerology, you also reduce double-digit numbers to single-digit numbers in order to understand their vibrational essence. So, if you have the number 12, you add 1 and 2 together, reduced to a single digit, and you get the number 3. If you have the number 17, 1 and 7 is 8, so it reduces to number 8. And even in numbers with 3 and 4 digits in them, like 148. 1 plus 4 is 5, 5 plus 8 is 13, and then we reduce again, 1 and 3 is 4. So, getting down to those 9 basic numbers to basically understand what is at the bedrock of numerological understanding, okay? So let me just jump in there for now and let's give a brief description of each of the basic 9 numbers and their experiential value in your name. Now, but before I do start, let me qualify one more thing. Fundamentally, the idea is that your name at birth, your total name at birth, first name, middle, and last, is your cosmic resume. It includes the numerical vibrations of each letter of the alphabet. And that's another thing. Each letter of the alphabet has a numerical value, okay? So that we can measure and quantify the elements that are in your name as to how they represent the resume from past lives, from past experiences that you bring into this life. Then your birthday numbers, the month you're born in, the day you're born on, and the year you're born in, they qualify the life path code for this incarnation, this lifetime. So, oftentimes you bring experience and strength from previous lives into a new lifetime that you're here to learn new experiences or to master deficiencies that were avoided in previous lifetimes from missing numbers or numbers that aren't in a strong presence in your name at birth, okay? But basically those are the two fundamental number groupings that will define how you understand your life in this incarnation, who you are, what your strengths are, what your deficiencies are, what spiritual lessons you need to learn, what interhuman lessons do you need to learn to elevate the quality of your life and to help you prepare and work out the issues that may seem to be problematic but are fundamentally cosmic lessons that you have agreed to come to this earth in this incarnation to learn and to grow from, okay? So, let me get back to what I originally said, guys. Sorry for digressing. Let me think about it a bit. Yeah, I was digressing. So let me get back to the middle of the beginning, okay? Now let's start with the numbers. Now each number obviously has a positive quality and a negative quality, and these will become obvious as we go through the list of the numbers, and they'll make a lot of sense to you. And in fact, you're going to be surprised at how a lot of common sense these numerical explanations really are, because they're fundamental. They're obvious in nature, in the real world, in the way we construct existence as we know it through this symbolic language of number, even though number represents an actuality. Okay? So again, I digressed. Back to number one. Okay, the first number, number one. Number one is considered the Mayo Principle, that which acts, the acting energy, the force which drives things. Number one, if you have number one either in your birthday or in your name, and in the name it would be represented by the letters A, J, and S. Each one is a different vibrational level, but they both reduce, all three of them reduce to the number one. So, if you have a lot of number ones in your name, that indicates that you have a strong sense of self, that you have a very strong masculine, not necessarily male in a biological sense, but masculine energy. In other words, aggressive, progressive, active, strong, generative in its effects, okay? So that means you're independent. It means you have a strong sense of self. It means you know how to take care of yourself. You know how to be independent. You have leadership qualities and a bunch of other stuff. Now, if the number is expressing negatively, it manifests as arrogance, as bullying, as brutality, as insensitivity, okay? Because it's all about ego, self. When you think of number one, you're saying, you know the song, looking out for number one, that's you. So, number one is the Mayo Principle, the number of self, strength, and generation of action, okay? Number two, obviously, would be its corollary, the feminine principle, all right? That which is acted upon, the recipient of action. Number one acts, number two is the object upon which that action is acted upon, okay? So, you come with these traditional notions of femininity, which is being cooperative, sensitive, partnering, deferring to the stronger energy to accommodate the combination of the two energies. So, if you have a lot of twos in your name, represented by the letter B, K, and T, you have strong feminine influences in your name. You tend to be much more sensitive. You tend to be more emotional. You tend to be more artistic. You tend to be more cooperative and team-oriented rather than individual-oriented. You're happier doing things in a group rather than striking out on your own. Although it doesn't mean you're completely without ego or sense of self. It's just that your greatest fulfillment comes in cooperative and partnering environments, okay? So the number two, feminine principle, reactive to energy, acted upon, completing the action started by the number one, okay? If it's negative in your name or in your personality, it represents weakness, oversensitivity, over-emotionality, panicking, fear for no reason at all, the fear of being alone, and lack of security within your own self, within your own body, okay? So, see how these numbers either act positively or negatively in your own name as you encounter it, as you're writing your own charts out to determine your own number values, okay? Number three. Number three is the completion of the triangle between 1 and 2 at the top, you generate 3. So 3 is the full expression of 1 and 2 together, which is action acted upon and the production of that action. So when you have the number 3 is also known as the letters, C, U, and L. And I didn't have those in order, but I digress. Anyway, number 3 is really the number of expression. It's the number where the two actions of action and reception create full expression. So people with C, L, and U in their names, or the number 3 on the birth path, tend to be very outgoing, expressive, creative. It's the number of social flair. It's the number of language, of expression of self, of communication, of creativity. It's the number of the performer on the stage. So if you have a lot of those, you tend to be a much more flamboyant individual, someone able to express themselves very easily. You are charming, attractive to other people. You draw crowds to yourself. You enjoy the limelight, being the center of attention. Now, if you're expressing negatively the number 3, you tend to be somewhat vacuous, scattered, maybe too many irons and too many fires. You're versatile but unfocused, okay? You can become a chatterbox. You can be meddlesome and irksome, seeking attention, okay? So those are the negative aspects of the number 3, all right? So we've got 3, we're 1/3 of the way through our understanding of the numbers, all right? Now, we take the turn to the number 4. Number 4 is the number of work. It is the number of matter. It's the number of the earth. It's the number of the seasons. It's foundational, elemental, physical. It tends to be very rigid in its expression because it is more foundational and elemental than some of the other numbers of the total 9. So it's kind of common. You think of things that are pragmatic and down to earth in a very fundamental material and inanimate sense. You have that there's 4 walls to a house, right? A house can't exist without 4 walls or 4 sides of a foundation. You have the 4 seasons, okay? Number 4 is matter, the power of matter, of incarnate life without consciousness, okay? And that doesn't mean that if you have a lot of 4s in your name, which is represented by the letters D, M, and V, that you're some sort of block of concrete and you don't understand what the hell's going on in the world. No, it just means that you manifest much more easily than most people the understanding of the fundamental elements at work in physical existence, okay? So you're in physical existence in this earthly plane, okay? So people with number 4s are builders. They're hard workers. They're disciplined. They're practical. They're not people who take flights of fancy lightly. Everything that people with number 4s in their name do are directed toward practical results. They're results driven. They're action and physical activity driven. So people with number 4 are probably have strong, healthy bodies, work really hard, are really great at getting physical tasks accomplished. They connect very easily with the way things work in physical reality, like the way to build things or to correct material objects, to construct and other things like that, okay? It's a very powerful foundational number. Now, manifesting in the negative, 4 can be very dense, very intolerant of subtler energies that are more interested in higher vibrational experience and thought. They tend to be very close-minded, regimented, intolerant, dismissive of other people because they they like to fall back to the tried and true. They're not trailblazers in most examples of number 4 unless they manifest higher as a master number 22, which I can mention those at the end. But that's the negative side of 4. So if you have a lot of 4s, you may express that vibration much more intensely, okay? And remember, positive and negative. It's a question of the attitude you infuse into the value of those numbers. You're not at the mercy of these numbers. You're not a victim. You're not a marionette being yanked on the string by all these little numbers, and oh, my numbers made me do it. No, that's not how it works. It's just that you got to be cognizant that these energies are at work driving your behavior, okay, and contributing to the way you respond to experience. All right. Now, number five. There we are, number 5. there's 2 of them, 2 number 5. See? Anyway, but we only talk about 1 right now. Number 5 is the number of the senses. It is matter infused with consciousness, with self-awareness. Number 5 is called the number of man, the number of change, the number of chance, the number of experience. Okay? Makes sense too. The number of 5. We have 5 extremities: our head, 2 arms, 2 legs. We have 5 fingers. We have 5 senses. Okay? So when you see the number 5, people with a lot of the number 5s are driven by sensory responses to experience. Deep physical connections, but with a conscious intent to indulge the human part of incarnation, of physicality, the part of man that is infused with his own conscious awareness of himself. So you have appetites. All appetites are amplified with number 5, okay? Food, drink, sex, experiences with touch and taste, hearing, everything is identified. The appetite for broader interconnectivity with the natural world and the whole world of experience and the world of men. People like to gamble with number 5s. People like to try exotic experiences, okay? And that is the power of number 5. Number 5 is open to change, open to new experience, able to appeal across a broad swath of the human condition, okay, in different parts of society. Oftentimes, number 5 can manifest also as convention and kind of people who work through the institutions and sort of standardize their human quality into the effects of the mechanism of institutions that we create in order to navigate and coordinate human interaction, okay? So people with number 5s are also very good salespeople. They're always good at bullshitting and doing a bunch of other stuff. They're persuasive, charming, and interesting. On the negative side, okay? I didn't tell you what letters there were first. They're reflected in the letters E, W, and N. Those are the 3 number 5s in the alphabet, okay? So if you have a lot of those, you feel completely comfortable in a variety of situations, you're open to a lot of new experiences and change, okay? On the negative side, 5 can be abuse of the senses, appetites, addictions that are exaggerated, that are dangerous, that are harmful, that are grossly exaggerated for the sake of personal gratification and self-indulgence, irregardless of who it affects. Or regardless of who it affects. Irregardless isn't a word. And I'm an English major and I should know that, but I digress. Anyway, so if you have too many 5s and you're going the opposite direction with negativity, it means you're too much at the mercy of the sensations, that they are undermining your well-being, that you're exaggerating those appetites and they're taking you away from a more balanced, healthy approach toward sensory response and sensual appetites, okay? Number 6. Number 6 is the number of responsibility, duty, obligation, parenting. When you have a lot of 6s in your name, like I do, my name is Frank, and I'm born in June, which is the 6th month. But 6 is the number of people who are natural parents. They are people who are the burden bearers. They're the people who have a sense of duty and loyalty, not only primarily to family in its most primal sense, but also to causes. People with highly elevated number 6 oftentimes lead causes, for this. They are the parents of a purpose in the world that seeks to protect and enlarge the nourishment of the benefit of all mankind. They're humanitarian, but not the way number 9 is humanitarian, which I'm going to get to later. But they are the burden bearers. They are the flag bearers for the causes. They are the ones who are the nurturers, mothers, fathers, people who protect the weak, people who nurture environments that foster the well-being of others, whether it's members of a club, members of a family, members of a cause. So number 6 is a beautiful energy. They also call it the number of the high protection. Usually, even though there is a burden thrust upon people with number 6, they are also blessed by spirit and the cosmos with the high protection of the universe because they are willing to take those causes on and give it. And sometimes martyrdom can be a part of it when... Sorry about that, everybody. My camera stopped at 20 minutes, so I apologize for that. I had to stop it and kind of move forward. Anyway, I was finishing up the number 6, all the negative things about number 6 that could occur. And again, remember, numbers acting, manifesting that way are not inherent in the numbers. It's all about the way we respond and the energy we infuse into the value of those experiences. So anyway, we're 2/3 of the way now through our list of the numbers. Now let's move on to the number 7. Number 7 is the number of science, philosophy, metaphysics, any kind of deep intellectual process and study. It's the number of mysticism. It's the number of religious study, priesthood, shamanism, any kind of deep involvement with much more theoretical and abstracted thought. So people with number 7 are deeply sensitive to the deeper layers beyond the surfaces of the world's experience. They look to see the paradigms, the artifices, the structures that are the underpinnings of everything either constructed in experience or constructed in human thought. Okay? So you also have scientists, philosophers, doctors, and other kinds of people who need to abstract and to symbologize experience in order to understand it and manipulate it and gather a deeper understanding of the dynamics of the processes at work. So again, number 7s are philosophers, thinkers, and artists, poets, metaphysicians, and all kinds of other people dabbling in the deeper, darker, sometimes darker, not always, sometimes seeking more illumination through introspection and analysis. Okay, the negative sides of the number 7 can tend to be aloofness, coldness, insensitivity to the more common lower vibrational interests at work in the world. It tends to can be condescending, can be dismissive of other simpler forms of knowledge. It tends to appreciate more hierarchical understandings. So number 7 tends to seek the elevation of the human condition through deeper thought and the elevation of human perception, human knowledge, and human expression. Okay, so again, number 7s can be suicidal because they get oversensitized to abstracted information and input. They can be susceptible to darker energies because they respond to much more subtler forms of energy. So they can be manipulative of others by using their analytical powers to dominate and domineer over others. So we got to guard against that. If you have the letters either P, G, or Y in your name in excess, okay, or number 7 on the birth path. But it can be a very illuminating and insightful experience under the number 7 too. So it's a question of how things manifest, all right? So got number 7. Now we move to the number 8. Number 8 is the number of personal authority. Okay, it's the doubling of the number 4. So it is that earthy discipline energy of number 4 intensified and doubled. So people with the number 8 tend to be the leaders, the generals, okay, the administrators, the people in positions of power and authority over institutions, systems, and processes, okay? So people with number 8 are great with money. They're great managers of money. They're great at making money. It's the number of the industrialist, of the capitalist, of the investor. People with the number 8 are always looking to implement the disciplines of number 4 in its grosser form, and through the subtler and more intuitive and knowledgeable and experienced power of personal authority and insight, they manifest it more, and they are the builders of the financial empires of the world, okay, in its most extreme form. If it's manifesting at a lower level of vibration, it still means good use of money and understanding of efficient use of resources and assets and values for the greater good of one's personal well-being and the well-being of the people interconnected with it. But they're natural leaders, executives, and organizers of large enterprises, okay? In the negative, you see, again, the same qualities you have of some of the other numbers that can be, because they feel sometimes in the negative that they are superior to other people because of their own personal authority. They tend to be intolerant of lesser vibrations that they find get in the way of their pursuits of these larger activities, okay? So they got to guard against that. They need to be generous with themselves. They can be squanderers of fortune, people whose ego feed into the paradigm of the money-making process and overindulge and waste and figure that the money will always be there, so they exaggerate, and especially if the other numbers are influencing that behavior, like the number 5, where sensuality and the quest for more exotic experience comes, that people have the resources, they may indulge themselves more in those resources and squander their natural talent to foster and to be good stewards of of real estate, of finances, and of other material assets that they have through their own enterprise and hard work, and manage to let those resources do the work for them. But when in negative form, it gets away from them and they can squander great fortunes. You have that happening a lot with people who earn a lot of money. They make fortunes and they lose them because of arrogance and because of mismanagement and laziness after the achievement of those goals of money and resources. So they have to guard against that. That's the negative aspect of number 8. Finally, we reach the number 9. If number 1 is the number of self, number 9 is its corollarily opposite number. It's selflessness. Number 9 is the humanitarian impulse. It's the number of selflessness. It's the number of surrender to others. It's the number of accommodation. In a lot of ways, it's like the number 2, but with higher aspirational vibrations. Number 9 understands the human condition. It wants to acknowledge the sorrows and the sufferings of others. It empathizes with the downtrodden, the disenfranchised, the disheartened. And in that respect, it's very much like the number 6, okay? But number 9 is a very high vibration of humanity. It's the number in which all the other numbers come together and coalesce. Now, an interesting thing you could do numerologically, just to prove this point, is that number 9 being selfless, number 9 disappears when you add it to the other numbers. So if you take 9 and add it to any other number, the number will always reduce to the number that 9 is mirroring. 9 is like a mirror of the energy of the number that comes into contact with it. So if you add 9 plus 7, you get 16, right? Reduce it to 1 and 6, you're back to the number 7. 9 disappears and the original contacting vibration elevates and steps up. Number 9 with the number 4. 9 and 4, 13. 1 and 3 is 4. Again, you reduce it, 9 disappears, and the leftover vibration is the number 4. So sometimes people with the number 9 in their name, and those are reflected by the letters I and R, okay? I didn't mention number 8's letters, did I? Number 8 is the letter H, the letter Q, and the letter Z, okay? And I don't know if I did number 7, did I? Did I do G, P, and Y? No, I didn't mention that. I'm sorry, I'm screwing up here. I've been getting so far ahead of myself. But let's get back to number 9. It's the letters I and R. But Number 9 people, again, like I said, you have a lot of I's and R's, 9s in your name, or you have 9s on your birthday, okay, in your birth path, 18s, 9s, 27s, things that reduce to 9. You are have a humanitarian spirit. You have a larger desire to do things for the betterment of human life, okay? There's a desire to open up your heart and to give to others, to be with others, and to be an agent of generosity of self and spirit for the well-being of the group and others. Sometimes the number 9 will suffer because oftentimes the number is so sacrificial, so giving of itself, that its own needs are ignored for the sake of the needs of others. And number 9 has to guard against that, because it's very easy when you're number 9 to think of others' to put others first ahead of yourself. And you can harm yourself. So if you have that number 9 strongly in your chart, you want to always remember to treat yourself well first as well, while being able to give. You can do both. You don't have to surrender identity of yourself for the sake of others at your own emotional and spiritual expense, okay? The negative side of number 9 is that you are selfless to a fault, where you're almost have a martyr complex, where you have no desire, but you want to achieve selfishness through selflessness. And so there's no discrimination between one quality of experience and another. The desire is to just be available to other energies for the sake of not being isolated or ignored. And you can often become a doormat for other people, or you can always scatter energy so much to the detriment of yourself that it becomes dangerous and harmful to your own interests and your own energy. So you got to watch that with the number 9 too. That's always a very big risk. Anyway, we've completed the 9 numbers. Those are the basic numbers. So take a piece of paper out and write down each of the number vibrations, 1 through 9. Take your full name, middle and last name, front, middle, and last. Put the number over each letter represented by that letter. Then total up the number of each of those numbers under each of those vibes and put it in your listed chart to see how strong you have a number, how weak you have a number, or if a number is non-existent, okay? And do the same thing for the birthday to see which numbers are in parts of your birthday. Now, I'm not going to go into the birth paths and destiny numbers and then what the numbers mean in total when we add like the vowels together or the consonants together. That's another layer of numerological information I'm going to cover in other videos. But as a basic foundational thing, just to kind of see where you're at and where the distribution of these vibrations are in your own name, please take a little piece of paper like I told you and do what I just said, and you'll get a good foundational sense of where you are. Now, another thing I want to say before I conclude here and wrap this thing up is that what I tend to find, and you'll probably tend to find, and if you find it in more people, is that when you do the numbers of your name, oftentimes you're going to see that numbers that are deficient in your name show up on your birthday, in your birth life path, they call it, all right? And this goes to show you that you're here to learn an experience that you've been weak or deficient in your previous incarnations. So if the feminine energy is diminished in you, is not strongly understood, or isn't a strength brought from a previous life, you will find that in your birth path you may find an encounter with the number 2 somewhere, or number 11, or number 20, or number 29. That's the numerical, those are all higher numerical equivalents that tend to show up in birth paths, okay, or on birthdays. So it means that during the transit of that part of your life, that experience is going to be dominant. And it could be a source of conflict for you if you've always avoided that energy in previous lifetimes. So see which numbers are strong, but you're heavily overloaded with, which means that they're a strength, or almost to a point of exaggeration. And you got to guarantee, you got to watch out against that, because when a number is exaggerated in your name, that may override other energies that you need to focus on in order to balance out your personality and your karmic chart, okay, so to speak, of mastery of all the experiences, okay? So another thing I'd like to say is the fewer numbers manifested in your name means the younger your soul is. In other words, if you have 6 or 5 of the numbers, but you're missing 3 or 4 of the others, that indicates a young soul, a soul that has fewer incarnations than a person who has numbers reflected, a quantity of numbers reflected across the board in all 9 numbers in their name. So that tends to be the case. Now, and the corollary is that if you have every vibration, you may be a very old soul who comes to this life and may be bored with this life because you already have all the experiences. That's another danger sign to be looking out for, because it's easy to be dismissive of experience when your soul has already experienced all the different human kinds of experiences as reflected in the numbers in your birth, in your name from previous incarnations. So that's another thing to look out for. Do you have not enough vibrations of certain numbers or none? Do you have too many of one and not others? Which is the strength? How do these interactions affect you? And then how do they show up manifested in your birthday? Okay? So there's a lot of other layers of things I'm going to be looking forward to explaining and involving you in future videos, which I hope you will enjoy. I hope you'll hit the subscribe button. I hope you'll hit the like button. I hope you'll share this video with other people. I hope you'll make comments, and I will answer your comments. And I look forward to sharing more numerological experience on this amazing journey through the world of numbers. I hope it's piqued your interest and encourage you to look not just through my videos, but other people's videos to learn more about this remarkable way of understanding our human journey. And I did mention the master numbers. Before I close up, a couple of other things. The master numbers are called 11 and 22 because they vibrate at higher levels. People, if you have this number, either 11 or 22 on your birth path, or if you have a lot of K's or V's in your name, that means that there is a added spiritual quality and elevated vibrational effect on the course of your name or on your birthday, which means you have the potential to manifest in a much more elevated way. If you do not manifest those master numbers as master numbers, where you take on larger causes, international concerns, inspired actions, they will reduce to their basic number of 4 or 2. So I just throw those out as added little pieces of information to look for in your own name, because they are master numbers. Now, finally, I would like to mention this. And again, thank you for being here for part of it. I hope you enjoy it. I hope I'm not too yucky or too tiresome. But then again, I digress. I would like to mention, though, that I am, besides being a numerologist, I am a poet, okay? And I do have a book of my collected poems. It's pretty substantial. I've been writing poetry for over 50 years. And this is my collective poems. The title of the book is called The Au Revoir of an Enormous Us. And I hope you'll consider checking it out. It's available at Amazon.com or at BarnesandNoble.com. And as an added thing, besides all kinds of poems about my personal experiences, about literary subjects, journeys, travels, imaginative exercises and literary exercises, there is a whole section of this book for you people who are interested in metaphysics and the occult called The Arcane Reveries, okay? And it's all about, they're kind of poetic, meditative pieces on the major arcana of the tarot card. So numerology figures in very heavily in the tarot card deck, and I will be going into that in other episodes. But if you're curious, and I would appreciate you checking out my book. I'm very proud of it. It's a whole lifetime of work, and if you're even remotely interested in poetry or other kinds of writing which deal with the imagination, with experience, with the human condition, I hope you'll take a look at my book at Amazon or at BarnesandNoble.com. And again, the title, The Au Revoir of an Enormous Us. And again, all my friends out there, thank you so much for spending time with me today. Again, subscribe, like, share, comment. I remember this too. You only live once at a time. I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you. God bless you. And hey, it's all in the numbers, baby. Talk to you soon.